I am Zachary, and at the time I write this, it had been 3 weeks since that fateful night when I played the NES Godzilla game. Going back to that night, so immediately after I turned off the NES, once I was able to start walking around again, the first thing I did was unplug the NES, take it out of the cartridge, and put them in a separate sock drawers. I looked over at the computer. All the screenshots you've seen in the story were saved. I backed them all up on the images on the flash drive before I turned off the computer just in case. After that, I headed to bed and instantly passed out. It was not a restful sleep, but it was one of complete exhaustion. But it felt like no time has passed before I awoke again. And what day it was? The first I thought was recall coming down to my mind was, what the hell happened last night? I thought about it for a short while, until it occurred to me that to contact the person I got the game from to begin with, Billy. So I called him up again and just told him to come over to my apartment, to which he did. I had shown him the screenshots and gave him a very basic summary of what happened. At first he thought I was pulling a joke on him, but soon he realized that it was not the case. Once it hit him that this was real, he was speechless. He made it clear that he had absolutely had not tampered with the game, but he had no choice or no idea of any of this. So then it was obvious question he asked to Billy was, where did you get it from? I got the simple answer of another friend of mine that traded games with. He assured me that this was a trustworthy person, and he had never had any issues with the game he got from before. So Billy called him, but when we told this guy about their story, he was shocked and surprised at this. Anyone except he abruptly hung up on us. This clearly was going nowhere. Before Billy left that day, he asked if I wanted to take the cartridge and dispose of it. I sharply declined. He asked me if I could possibly still want to keep the thing. I told him that I needed time to think about it over. And that was just it. Billy and I haven't talked much since then. Even though I have told him that this was the case, I get the impression that Billy thinks what happened with the game was his fault. After he left that day, I did a lot of thinking. It was all very hard for me to do anything else really, but I couldn't stop thinking about the game. There were so many questions left unanswered. Was this real? Was Melissa really in the game? How did she get there? Why did all this happen in this game? But one question kept me from many nights was, Red said he had known me for a long time. How? Ever since then, I can't shake off the feeling of being watched. The game asked myself questions about death reality in many ways. I never wanted to think about that. I'm not sure about anything anymore. Constantly thinking about it soon makes me give a negative impact on life. I just didn't care about anything else at this point. By comparison, the other day, two-day activities seem utterly pointless. I eventually decided that I had to come and choose between two things: to try to play the game again or destroy it. I tried several times to convince myself to try the former, but I never got farther than unplugging back up the NES back. Just touching the cartridge made me remember all the pain I felt during the fight with Red. I wondered if perhaps playing the game again might cause something terrible to happen. I didn't know anything about this game. It worked, and it was too risky. I wasn't sure if I could stand for another round of the game anyway. So then it was time for me for another option, wanting to get some fresh air. I took the game with me and drove to the lake, planning on throwing it in. When I got up to the lake with the cartridge in my hands, I looked down and thought of Melissa. What if I had experience in the game was indeed Janine? Doing what I have done was the only way to save her from the endless torture. In many ways of this game wrapped might have saved her soul. Damn it, once this thing came to my mind, I knew that I wouldn't be able to destroy it, so I just sat down on the bench, gazing at the lake for about an hour, ultimately deciding on the third option, selling the game on eBay. It may be selfish, but I promise you that it has nothing to do with money. I don't care how much or little I get paid for the game. Believe me, it's a selfish because I don't want the responsibility of owning this cartridge anymore. I cannot dwell on this forever, and the only way I could deal with this now is to put the game out of my life. So this brings me to the main reasons why I created the summary of these events. First is to record the details while I can remember them. And the second is to whoever bits on the game knows they are getting into. And I can't guarantee the safety of anyone else who plays the game, or that anything would happen at all. But to the owner of the game, remember this. Be careful. And if you feel this game is literally messing with your mind, shut the damn thing off. And that, my little pretties, was Godzilla NES. A Godzilla lost game creepypasta written by Cosbydaf. My final thoughts on this story? I actually really thought this one was a pretty interesting and well-made creepypasta. So I could definitely say right now that this episode was basically a super long pasta about somebody getting this, altered game of the Godzilla NES game. So, this is basically a pretty interesting pasta. And I mean, this one was definitely a pretty good pasta involving Godzilla as NES Godzilla. Like, I've seen a couple narrators who actually went out of their way to narrate this story, and some did say, that they found it to be a pretty good story, and some just found this one to be cliched. Well, I'm gonna say there are cliches in this pasta, but they managed to work with the subject matter of, what goes on in this story. I'm very impressed that that the Godzilla game manages to do that. So, with that being said, though, I definitely do like the fact that this story has a pretty good concept. Now, I think I do remember Some Ordinary Gamers. I believe he did a narration of this or something. I don't remember much, but I think I remember he did that. But I also have to say, this one was definitely a very disturbing creepypasta. I mean, if this, creepypasta game of this Godzilla game exists, well, I might be able to try this out. I mean, I wouldn't mind playing it. That would be cool. But yet, like I said, I haven't read this story in quite a while. I think the last time I touched this story was maybe about a few was like a couple years ago actually. I do remember Space Voyager actually um narrated this story at one point, if I remember correctly. I think I do remember Space Voyager narrated this story. And this story, well, despite its cliches, I still thought this was enjoyable. The grammar was pretty good, as well as the sentence structuring, the storyline, basically everything about this story was flat out fantastic. It actually sounds very believable. And that's the main reason why I thought this story was pretty good. It does have a great concept. It's pretty good nevertheless. It definitely has that pretty good feeling when it came to this story, especially with everything, happening at once. So, I guess with that being said, and with that being the case, I honestly thought this story was good. It's pretty good. I like this Godzilla story, and you know, I recommend you guys check this story out if you haven't. It's on the regular Creepypasta Wiki. So, I guess with that being the case and that being said, I guess I'm gonna sit here and say this now. This is just simply my own personal opinion. And if you happen to disagree with me, that is perfectly okay too. We're all entitled to our own opinions regards to these creepypastas, and this is simply my own personal thoughts. Also, one more thing I want to add is that the grammar of this story is really good. I really do appreciate the good grammar of the story, as well as the sentence structuring, the concept, the plot line, flat out amazing. Despite that there were a few cliches in the story, but they managed to work in this story. So that I'm very impressed that they managed to work. So with that being said, what did you guys think about this creepypasta? Did you enjoy it? Did you not? Also, what would you have done personally to help make this story a lot better? Feel free to leave me what your thoughts are down in the comments below. I'm the Queen of Lions. Thank you so much for watching today's episode. If you're new to this channel, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Ring the bell for notifications to when I upload, so that way you guys will not miss an upload. And as always, please roll the outro because I'm out.